The stage has now been set. The Boston Celtics will be taking on the Dallas Mavericks in the 2024 NBA Finals. And as we know, with the Celtics preparing for this matchup, there are going to be some X factors for this team. And we're going to be diving in, looking at three possible guys who could be that extra X factor for this Celtics team to really take over and win this series commandingly versus this Dallas Mavericks squad. So we're going to be diving in, looking at those possible guys, all of that and more on this episode of Celtics Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz. Before we dive in, though, on all of this news, I'd like to let you guys know that 62% of you guys who watch our videos are not subscribed. We appreciate everybody that's been tuning in, but if you want to make sure you stay up to date with all the best news revolving around this team as we're gearing up for the finals throughout the entire offseason, hit that subscribe button down below, as we're less than 50 subscribers away from our goal of 4,000 subscribers. Without further ado, though, let's dive into the video at hand today. Make sure to grab a snack, as it's going to be a jam-packed episode. And like I mentioned in the introduction, we're going to be looking at the three possible X factors for this Celtics squad. And the first one that we're going to be looking at and diving into is Kristaps Porziņģis. Now, obviously, Kristaps Porziņģis has not suited up for the Boston Celtics in over 1 month, as he was sidelined with a calf strain in Game 3 of the Miami Heat series. In Game 4 and Game 5, he did not play for the Boston Celtics, and he has not seen the court since then. It will be at least on Game 1, 5.5 weeks if Kristaps Porziņģis does not play for the Celtics team, and I think that we are going to need him in this series. With the Mavericks having some great lob threats in Daniel Gafford and Derrick Lively, and also some great rebounding and shot blockers in those guys. I do love Al Horford. I do love Luke Kornet. They have been fantastic for us this season, but I do not want them to get too tired in the playoffs. We are going to need Kristaps Porziņģis for this series. If we want to look at the shooting splits from the team, looking at how this team has been playing, we've been seeing that obviously Tatum and Brown have been, taking this team on their back, really helping out alongside being those two stars. But the Celtics have had some other players play great. Kristaps Porziņģis versus the Dallas Mavericks averages around 24 points, 2 assists, 50% from the field, 50% from three, and 57% from the field. In the playoffs this season, he's averaged 26 minutes on 39% shooting, 40% from three, 93% shooting from the field, with 5 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1.5 blocks, and 1.3 steals on 12.3 point averages. And honestly, Kristaps Porziņģis, as we know, only played that one series versus the Miami Heat where he had that shoulder strain. But I think he's going to be a huge X factor for the Celtics in this series. Like I mentioned, he's going to have to be able to help out defensively, be a great rim protector and shot blocker against those Daniel Gafford and Derrick Lively guys, but also on the defensive side, be able to space them out, space them out, pull them out to the three-point line, make sure that those guys aren't just sitting in the paint, clogging up the paint. So guys like Tatum and Brown, when they do their driving kicks, they can absolutely get the ball out. Or if they do that and then instead of kicking out, they can actually drive to the rack and get an easy layup and consistently score. I know that the Dallas Mavericks have a very, very great offensive team. Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, two of the best offensive guards in the league, if not the best guard duo offensively. But the Boston Celtics do have the best defensive guard duo in Derrick White and Jrue Holiday, alongside two superstars in Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who can guard those similar superstars. And honestly, I believe in those four guys making sure that Kyrie and Luka Doncic are guarded by them 100% of the time, or at least 90% of the time, to the fact to where we're not getting any mismatches on those guys. And I truly trust those guys defending over Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington having to guard our two Jays. I think Kristaps Porziņģis is going to be necessary for this series. If we want to look at this tweet from Bobby Manning, we can see that Porziņģis is on the floor as practice ended, was practicing, warming up with the team. Joe Mazzulla had some quotes saying he's rehabbing very well, has looked solid like he has been this entire time he's been rehabbing, saying he's on track for how he's doing today. Kristaps Porziņģis came out a couple of days ago speaking, saying he should be back by the finals. So I'm anticipating that Kristaps Porziņģis is going to be available for Game 1. I want to know your guys' thoughts, your guys' opinions, so drop them down below. Do you guys think that Kristaps Porziņģis will be available for Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Let me know what you guys think down below. I think he's going to be a massive addition for the Celtics. Versus the Cavs, versus the Pacers, we didn't necessarily need him. But versus the Dallas Mavericks, I think we are going to need him. Not just for the storyline with him playing against his old team, but for the success for this Boston Celtics team. He is one of the X factors that I have mentioned. The next one that we want to talk about is Jrue Holiday. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Jrue Holiday, the newly acquired guard for the Celtics in this offseason, is my second X factor for this team. If we want to look at his stats so far this season versus Dallas: 14 points, 6.5 assists, 53% shooting from 3, and 52% shooting from the field. Holiday has had some games offensively and defensively where he's been very solid for this Celtics squad, really coming together in that Cleveland and Indiana series. Throughout the postseason, he's played in 14 games, averaging around 38 minutes, while shooting 49% from the field, 40% from three-point range, and 94% from the free throw, while averaging 5.6 rebounds, 4.6 assists on half a block, 1.3 steals, and 12.7 points. He is effectively one of the Celtics' better scorers in this starting unit, and a guy that I'm seemingly trusting with this squad. Defensively, I want him locking up Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. I don't want to see in any world where they're setting a pick and roll and those guys are not sticking to them, if not fighting through that screen to stick with them. KP has to let them know, we need to drop back. I am not helping up on the switches. I am not coming up for that pick and roll. We need to prioritize that. We need to have somebody else come in, take that mismatch, and really harness that. Jrue Holiday can guard bigger guys. We've seen him guard Jokic, Embiid, Karl-Anthony Towns throughout the entire regular season. I'm trusting him on Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and even some of those bigger guys like PJ Washington if he gets hit him on a mismatch, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. I'm trusting our guy in Jrue Holiday to do that. But also, offensively, I think Jrue is going to have to step up for this squad. We've already seen it in the Cavs series and in the Indiana Pacers series, him really deliver. But if you want to look at his stats so far on, averages compared to the whole team, he is, fourth on the starting lineup, obviously because Porziņģis has been hurt. But with Porziņģis coming back, he's really going to step up to be that third scorer, hopefully, for this team. So Holiday is going to have to still be that fourth or fifth scorer. And truly, I believe with this Celtics squad, yes, Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are going to have to command this series. They're going to have to take over as those superstars. But if in any combination, if Derrick White, Kristaps Porziņģis, or Jrue Holiday can get hot, deliver at least 18 to 20 points with some successful defense and very, very efficient shooting clips as that third scorer, I don't know if this Dallas Mavericks team can stop us defensively if we have that going. Not to mention if Jrue Holiday is also doing that alongside Derrick White having a 25 and Kristaps Porziņģis having a 20 of his own. If they play team basketball, it's going to be unstoppable. So Jrue Holiday needs to be as efficient like he is with his 3-point percent shooting. Needs to get those things harnessed down. And again, he's had some clutch plays for the Celtics versus Indiana in game 3 and 4 late defensively, and I believe he can do that similarly to guys like Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Luka has already said that Holiday is the most annoying perimeter defender to guard in the NBA, one of the hardest to guard in the NBA, and Holiday was selected for the USA team for this reason, to be that hard-nosed defender. So the Celtics are going to trust him guarding Luka Doncic, guarding Kyrie Irving, making sure that is an issue, a problem for them to score offensively, and I think he is the second X factor for that reason. But lastly, we're going to be diving in on the last X factor, which is the bench unit as a whole. Now, Dallas has had a lot of help with their bench throughout the playoffs. We've seen, obviously, the narrative of Kyrie and Luka being that 1A and 1B scorer for this team, really stepping up offensively. But PJ Washington has transcended and being that third scorer for them efficiently some nights. Derek Lively versus the Minnesota Timberwolves went 16 for 16 from the field for them throughout the entire series, which is crazy to see. So he can score down low and be efficient. We know Daniel Gafford, obviously, had that run almost beating Wilt Chamberlain's record of consistent makes down low in the post throughout the entire season. So the Celtics are going to have to be able to limit those guys down low. Luke Cornett and Al Horford, if Porziņģis is starting, will be coming off the bench. So they're going to be hyped up and, focused on for that unit. And if we want to looking at this team so far, I kind of compiled some guys that have gotten some minutes from the bench Springer has gotten some here and there. I don't necessarily think he's going to be a guy that's really used throughout this entire series. Maybe if Peyton Pritchard's getting cooked offensively and they need a little bit of a defensive look. But Hauser, Luke Cornett, Xavier Tillman, O'Shea Brissett, and Al Horford are going to have to be huge, and I mean huge, for the Celtics' success as a bench unit. Luka Doncic scored a lot on Peyton Pritchard throughout the regular season, so that matchup comes to see. We could see Springer thrown in there as a defensive guard to help out in Philly. He played very, very solid versus Luka Doncic throughout the regular season, so I am trusting and believing in a guy in Jaden Springer. If he is given that notion, if he is given that nod to come and step up to be a great defensive guard. But Pritchard and Hauser need to come through offensively for this squad. Like I mentioned, they had guys like Maxi Kleber come back from injury, Tim Hardaway Jr., a plethora of guys who can be spark plugs, shooters off the bench that can be really, really key for their success. Similarly to how Miami had some role players versus the Boston Celtics last season. Now, I do believe that these Mavericks role players are a little bit better than those Heat players, and they're more consistent offensively, so that might be more of an issue. But with Horford coming off the bench, getting some rest for his tired legs, he needs to be an all-out rebounder. He's going to have a game, ladies and gentlemen. Not every single game, but he's going to have one of these games throughout the 6 or 7 where he does hit 4, 5, possibly even 6 threes for the Celtics to win that game, step up and be that fourth scorer. Sam Hauser cannot be 1 through 15 in his last 4 or 5 games from three-point range. He really, really needs to get that locked down, and Pritchard needs to be a big offensive contributor, but also not a defensive liability. If the Celtics do have some issues with that, I could see Joe going deeper into the bench and kind of tweaking some things we obviously saw with Luke Cornett's injury in Game 3 with his wrist. We saw Brissett come in to finish that game. Then Tillman was better in Game 4. So I think that there's going to be a lot of diversity, a lot of possible changes that could happen with this team and, throughout the rotations. And I wouldn't be shocked to see maybe Brissett or maybe Tillman, depending on the matchups or depending how the switching is going with their big setting pick and rolls. Ultimately, I could see this team going different looks, different matchups for each game, and that's what I want to see. But for the bench, we need to see some of these guys step up tremendously. Horford, like I mentioned, got to have a game where he has 4 or 5 threes consistently. He's got to be able to hit 2 a night. Hauser, some nights you're going to have to hit 3 or 4 threes. 1 game is all I'm asking. Pritchard, same thing. That's the thing what I'm asking out of this bench. I'm not asking for the bench unit to have a good bench unit game. I'm not asking for the bench unit to have good games consistently. I'm asking for Pritchard to have a good game 1, Horford to have a good game 2, Cornett to have a good game 3, possibly Tillman to have a good game 4, maybe Brissett or maybe Hauser for game 5. We need to have that variety from our bench to have those spark plugs really come through for this squad and be those X factors. Like I mentioned, this team is taking on a Dallas Mavericks squad who is fantastic offensively. So the Celtics are going to have a lot of problems running into that, and you're going to have to be sharp on that defensive side. That's why I kind of went similar with some X factors being Jrue Holiday, obviously Kristaps Porziņģis, as those key guys are going to be the stopping, helping this team succeed this season, and the new additions that we also got in the off season. So let me know what you guys think down below. Who are your guys' X factors for this Boston Celtics squad? Once again, I'm Bruce Veliz. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We're going to be coming out with these suggestion videos for you guys. If you have any other suggestions as we wait for the Celtics to take on the Dallas Mavericks on June 6th, drop those thoughts down below. Check out the other videos at the top. Hit that subscribe button if you're at this point of the video. We're so close to 4,000 subscribers, and we want to hit that goal by the end of the playoffs, and we cannot do it without your guys' help. Once again, I'm Bruce Veliz. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode here on Celtics Digest. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.